episode number 19 of the Karen Knits podcast. My name is Karen, and I'm coming to you from South Central Pennsylvania, where I live, where I work, where I knit, and where I get into all sorts of crafty goodness. So, sorry, I have show notes with me so that I can keep track of what I'm talking about and make sure I don't miss anything. And I probably will miss something, but oh well, such is life. So first of all, I want to explain a few things before we get into all of the knitting content and that type of information for the week. First off, I'll have to apologize. This is probably going to be a fairly awkward video. I might seem very stilted and just awkward. I haven't done a video in this style for a long time. I think it's been since late January 2019. So it's been well over a year, 4 months, 5 months, thereabouts. So it's been a long stretch since I've done any kind of podcasting in this style. So what I want to start out with is a bit of an explanation. I have started a new channel on YouTube, and it's called the Karen Knits podcast, and it's an offshoot of my original YouTube channel, which is Karen Burr Designs. I'll put the links to the old channel down below. On my old channel, what had happened was I initially started out my original channel as a knitting podcast, and I did 18 episodes, plus I think there was a little bit with spinning wheels and a few other things like that I had on the original channel. And then after about a year ago, January, my mojo kind of took a nosedive, and I really haven't done much knitting for the remainder of 2019. I kind of got back into it probably about December last year. And since this whole pandemic thing has been going on, my mojo has taken a huge leap since March, and I've done a fair I've done a fair lot of knitting in that time. Sorry, I'm just gonna have a sip of tea. So my channel had been primarily a knitting channel initially, and I had posted 18 episodes of the Karen Knits podcast over on that channel from, I think, September 2017 through January 2019. And then again, my knitting mojo wandered away on me, and I started to drift into doing a lot more journaling, art journaling, junk journaling, all kinds of paper craft kind of things on that channel. And a lot of that really started to expand on there, and I was doing a lot of stuff with that for several months. Actually, for most of the rest of the year, for the next year, I did a lot of that kind of stuff. So I had multiple playlists on my channel, and one of the playlists was the Karen Knits podcast. And the first 18 episodes were in there, and then I had playlists for a bunch of other things that I was doing. So since my mojo has come back, I've been really itching to get started at getting back into doing my knitting podcasting, because it was something that I really, really enjoyed doing. But between work getting busy and my mojo disappearing on me for a while, it went by the wayside, and I really didn't have anything to show you guys, and didn't really have the gumption to do that kind of stuff right then. So what has happened over the past few months is that I've really got back into doing a lot more knitting, and I've been really thinking I'd love to get a podcast going again. but I didn't really want to start incorporating the knitting stuff back into what had transitioned into a paper crafting type of paper crafting and journaling channel. I didn't really want to start having it kind of go from knitting into paper crafts and then back into knitting again and kind of it going all over the place. So I thought maybe it's just the best that I start a whole new channel that I will focus on knitting. So I thought it was probably going to be the best just to restart this as the Karen Knits podcast and start a whole new channel. So then I thought, well, what do I do with the first 18 episodes? So what I thought was the easiest is that I really wanted to keep them all in one place. So there wasn't really any way that I could figure out that you could transfer over videos from one channel to another channel. So what I did was I re-uploaded the first 18 videos onto this channel, the Karen Knits podcast channel. So on I think the 10th and 11th of June, there's 18 videos are uploaded. You can trust me, I didn't do all that podcasting over those few days. So I have the first 18 episodes in this channel now, and I have the original title, the original date that it was posted. Yeah, I had the title, the episode, or the Karen Knits podcast, episode 1, up to episode 18. Then I had the title of the particular episode, and at the end I put original post on such and such a date. And then I also put a little thing in the description of each of those 18 videos. I put a little description in there. This was originally posted on my other YouTube channel on this date. So there's one of them that says Happy New Year. So this was posted on, I think that one was posted on June 11th. So I have a video posted June 11th that's wishing everyone a Happy New Year. So anyway, so that's what I thought was the best to do. So I have the first 18 videos are in both places. What I plan on doing is I'm going to put a little post or a little video over on my original channel to let people know there that all of my knitting content or fiber related content is going to be over on the new channel. Just in case some of my original subscribers over there want to come over to this channel now that I'm finally back into the swing of getting these videos done again. So that's the long convoluted good grief that took me almost 10 minutes to tell you about. So in general, I've got two main podcasts. This one is the Karen Knits podcast. This one will be primarily a channel that's going to focus on mostly knitting. There will also be some crochet content. There will be some yarn dyeing stuff. So see, all this yarn in these two little tubs is all yarn that I've dyed myself. I had them listed on Etsy at one point. I don't think they're listed there now for sale, but they have been listed as sale items. They're each one of a kind dye lots, so each one is different from the other one. So it'll include knitting, crocheting, some stuff about dyeing yarn. It will include information on stash acquisitions for whenever I do happen to buy new yarn. I haven't bought too much lately, but you never know. There's always a chance that some new yarn is going to make it into my home. I also plan on learning how to spin fiber. I have 2 spinning wheels. You can see them in episode 2, and then I'm going to add, I haven't transferred that over yet, but I have another video about a second spinning wheel that I have. And these are two antique, they're both antique spinning wheels, and they both need a fair bit of work to get them into functioning order. But that's a project I want to, I'm hoping I can get going on maybe some of that this summer. One of the spinning wheels is my great-grandmother's Icelandic spinning wheel that she brought to Canada with her in 1905 when she immigrated from Iceland to Canada. And I have the spinning wheel now. The second spinning wheel I have is another antique spinning wheel that I was lucky enough to win it at an auction. Oh, it's a little while back, last fall? Yeah, sometime in the fall last year. Sorry, motorcycle. If you've watched some of my earlier videos, you'll know that we live in a large apartment right on Main Street. And it's an old building and it's not very soundproof. So I do get to hear a lot of ambient noises of the traffic outside. But this room is my craft room, where I have all my knitting stuff. All that goodness is in this room, but that faces right onto Main Street. So it is sometimes the traffic is pretty noisy here. So what else this channel? There might be some sewing content on here. I am hoping one day to spend a little bit more time doing some sewing. I'd like to sew some sewing pouches, sewing bags that I can keep, project bags, that's the word I was looking for. I'd like to try sewing some project bags and potentially also do some sewing of clothing for myself as well. I used to do a lot of sewing years ago. I still have my old trusty sewing machine that still runs like a beauty, and I am hoping to get some sewing done. So there might be a little bit of sewing content on here from time to time. And potentially there might also be some content about counted cross stitch. Although that's something that I have not done much of anything with for a long time. But it is something that in the past I have really enjoyed. So maybe one of these years I'll get back to that. So basically this channel is going to focus on all of my fibery type of stuff. Anything to do with yarns and fibers, thread, fabric, all that good stuff. So that's what this will be about, or that's what the bulk of this channel is going to focus on. But like I say, the vast majority of it is going to focus on knitting, because that is, of all the different fiber arts, that's the one that I probably spend easily 95% of my time on. I am hoping to get started on a crocheted scrap blanket down the road, but I have to finish a knit scrap blanket first, and I'll show you that in just a little bit today. So that's enough about my little preamble. As a fair warning, my introductions will typically never be this long in the normal world, but I did want to make sure that I really explained why there's a new channel and why it all of a sudden starts with 18 videos all posted virtually at the same time, and then starting to go on to new material hopefully once a week. So that's it in a nutshell. I'll shut up about that for now, and let's start looking. You hopefully have come here for the knitting content, and so far you really haven't had any of that. So let's get on to that. First, I need to sip. I'm just drinking just plain old regular tea. It's in this adorable tin. It's an English breakfast, but I found this at TJ Maxx a little while back. It's just the cutest thing ever. Oops, sorry, there's a huge glare on that part. And here's a bit of information about the back. I'm not sure if you can read any of that, But it's an English breakfast tea, and it's in a cute little Peter Rabbit tin. And once it's done, I think I only have about 5 or 6 tea bags left in here. Once it's all finished, then I'll use it for something. Maybe buttons, I don't know. I'll find something to keep in there. So typically what I want to do with this is I'll go through a sequence. I'll have like an introductory section. I'll have a section on finished objects if I hopefully have some to show you. Then I'll talk about some work in progress that I have ongoing. Then I might spend a little bit of time talking about some works or some projects that I want to start. It's like works in mind. So every once in a while I'll be planning down the road that, okay, I really want to get started on something or other. So I might have that as a section. Hey! Excuse me. I'm not used to talking this long. Husband will disagree on that one. But anyway, and then I'll have a section on stash acquisition if I've bought anything new or anything fiber related that's newly come into my house. And then I might have a section where I'm just kind of nattering about things that are going on in my life in general. So finally, we'll talk a little bit about some of my works in progress. So typically I don't like to have a huge list and a huge pile of partially done projects. For me, it's something that I find stressful. I don't enjoy it. I know some people love having 5, 10, 15, 20 or more ongoing projects all simultaneously. I find that if I have more than 2 or 3, I tend to only focus on 1 or 2 of them, and all of the rest of them just get put to the wayside and are forgotten about. So I typically am close to a monogamous knitter. I'll like to have 2 projects on the go, where one might be something that's very straightforward and simple, such as vanilla socks, and the second project is something more complicated. So it might be something with a lot of lace or a lot of cables. I love cables. You'll see that over time that probably one of my favorite types of knitting is something to do with cables. I love cables. So without further ado, finally, you're waiting for this, aren't you? My first work in progress are a pair of socks that I'm working on from Sock Madness, round 14. And I have a lot of progress done on these. This one I am ready to do the toe. I'll have to do a quick measurement. Either I'm ready to do the toe, or I might have just a little bit of plain stockinette to do and ready for the toe. The second one, I just have this last part here to do, and then the toe. So these socks the design is called Tsuki, and it's a design by Adrienne Fong, otherwise known as Belly Button Knits, or BBK. And unfortunately, Adrienne passed away I believe it was September. I think it was September. And she had a huge part in Sock Madness. And I'll post a link below to Sock Madness for anyone who is unaware of it. I'll talk about it more probably in a different video because it takes a little while to explain it, and I don't want to drag this on even longer than I already am. But Adrienne had a huge part in Sock Madness. She designed quite a few patterns for the contest. It's basically Sock Madness is a international speed sock knitting competition, and this is the 14th year that it's run. I've been participating in it, I forget, 6 or 8 years now. I've been participating for quite a while. And this pattern is the pattern that Adrienne Fong designed. She submitted it for Sock Madness last summer, and when it was getting close to, or when it was going through the process of being, where the moderators of the group were test knitting, they, Adrienne let them know that her health was failing significantly, and that she didn't have expectations that she was going to be around for too much longer. So they had a lot of discussions with her. She played a huge part in this. She was always there cheering people on, egging people on, encouraging people. She was just a super fantastic personality in Sock Madness, and she's hugely, hugely missed this year. But anyway, she had designed this pattern. It had been accepted. They were going to have it as one of the patterns in Sock Madness, and then once they found out that her health was failing, the moderators of the group had discussions with her and decided that they wanted to have this pattern as one last pattern in Sock Madness after she was gone. And so they saved this pattern to use as the final round of the competition. And there are hundreds of people that are basically doing a knit along with this. And the socks that people are coming out with are just amazing. Her designs are typically a lot of lace and a lot of beads. The more bling, the better. So with mine, you can see I have beads along here. There's a second set of beads. They're kind of harder to see in here before this gets blocked. And then there's even more beads along the front of the leg, and then a few down onto the top of the foot. And then similarly on the back. Now I couldn't decide on what color beads to use, so what I did was I posted a selection of colors I had and asked people what they thought would be a good which beads I should use. So several people piped in, said all of them. Why don't you do it in a rainbow? So I thought, yes. I had six of the main colors of the beads along here, and they're sort of in a rainbow. They go pink, orange, yellow, and then green, blue, and purple. And then these ones here are a little bit different. So the pattern involved sets of these 3 and 3. So it was perfect to do my little rainbow. Now that I'm farther along with it, it actually looks like there's a car going past with a dog barking out the window. Anywho, you get used to the ambient noises on my channel, I'm afraid. So to me, this almost looks like one of those angel food confetti cakes with the light white, off-white colored cake with all the little colorful speckles in it. And that's what this is actually starting to remind me of, is a confetti cake. And I love it. Absolutely love it. So just for a little bit more information, because I haven't told you that yet. For this, this was Sock Madness 14. It was for the pattern for round 7. The pattern name is Tsuki, which is actually a nickname for Adrienne's mom. And so it's Adrienne Fong is the designer. And for this, I'm using Knit Picks Bear Stroll Fingering weight yarn. And I typically, when I'm knitting socks that have beads in it, I go for the bear. I go for the off-white yarn, so that if I'm putting in all that time and energy and effort to stick beads into my knitting, I want to see them. I do not want them just to be like this little faint little sparkle here and there. No, I want to see them. The full-on show me the beads, definitely. So I'm using 2.25 millimeter needles, or US size 1. And I cast this on last Friday. I don't think I even told you at the beginning. This video is being filmed on Friday, June the 12th, 2020. I usually say what day it is way at the beginning, but I got sidetracked with talking about everything else and completely forgot to tell you that. Sorry, anyway. So I cast this on Friday, June the 5th, 2020, and I am very close to done. I suspect I'll have them done hopefully before the weekend is over. If not tonight or tomorrow. But they will be done quite soon. So that's my first work in progress. And my second work in progress is another pair of socks from Sock Madness. These are, the name of the pattern is Adamant Hearts, and it's by Knit Joys. And these were the round 4 socks for Sock Madness 14. So round 4, this was the round that I was eliminated in this round. So the round 7 socks, as soon as I found out who designed them and saw how pretty the pattern was, I put aside my Adamant Hearts, and they've sat there being ignored for a week. As soon as I'm done with the Tsuki socks, I will get back to my Adamant Heart socks and get those finished up. So anyway, that's the round I got eliminated. And these I cast them on May the 4th, 2020. And their colorwork, it's a colorwork design, and my colorwork knitting is slow. I enjoy it, but I'm very slow at it, and I really have to pay attention and concentrate, and I'm always fiddling with the yarn. So I want to show you the socks. I'm using, for these, I'm using Knit Picks Bear Stroll Fingering, again in the bear color, so I don't have any, it's not dyed, nothing's been done with it. And the second color I'm using Knit Picks Stroll Fingering Weight in black. So here's the second color I'm using. And it's a really pretty, and the other thing, I'm using a 2.5 millimeter needle, or US size 1.5. So these I cast on May the 4th, and I've been slowly working on them. I am through the heel turn on the first sock, and I'm starting, I think the gusset decreasing is complete on this one. I haven't worked on it since last Friday, so I don't remember 100% for sure. But it's a really pretty sock, and I will be finishing it. The one thing so hopefully I have a lot more to show. So next week I'm hoping the Tsuki socks will be finished, so I will have a finished object to show you next week. And I hope to have made significant progress on the Adamant Hearts design. And so the second sock, I just want to show that one. And this one, I'm finished the heel flap and heel turn, and I'm ready to pick up the gusset. And what I've done is I've tried something different with these socks. One of the things I absolutely love about Sock Madness is that you are forced to try new techniques and to try things that typically you wouldn't have done. So one of the things I tried for the very first time is I am knitting these inside out. I've never tried doing that before. I've never tried it before. I've knit several pair of colorwork socks, so I thought, well, I'll give this a try. A lot of people in the group were commenting and saying to knit them inside out, so you have a little bit better control over all of your floats. So I thought, why not? I'll give it a try. I have found that it has been a little bit challenging, and I did find that it was very awkward at first, and it still is a little bit awkward for positioning the needles and working with it, but as another thing that's probably slowing me down just a little bit on knitting these. But I'm so far along with them that there's no way they will be finished. So that's something. And that's the other thing that you might have noticed with my sock knitting. I typically knit my socks 2 at a time, but in tandem. So what I'll typically do is I will do the cuff on one sock, and then I'll cast on and do the cuff on the second sock. I typically do top down socks, occasionally toe up, but more often than not top down. Then I'll do the leg on both socks, then I'll do the heel flap and turn on one, then the other. Then I'll pick up the gussets and I'll do the second sock until I have the gussets decreasing complete, and then I do that with the second one, and then I start moving down the foot and go down to the toe. But the only time I knit truly 2 at a time is if I'm doing vanilla socks, and then I'll typically do them 2 at a time so that I know I'm going to have both legs the exact same length and both feet the exact same length, because if I'm trying to count my rows, I never get it exact. I forget to mark down a row here or there, and if I try to do it just with simply measuring, it never comes out quite the same, because I never get it exactly the same. So typically when I do plain vanilla socks, I will do them purely 2 at a time on one magic loop. In general though, what I do is I will do the socks 2 at a time in tandem. And that's what you saw with the Tsuki socks, is that I had finished on both of them up to the end of chart D, and then I did on one sock I did chart E. That's complete. So now I'll go to the other sock and I'll do chart E, and then I'll go back to the toe and the toe on either of them. And the same with the adamant hearts. I've got to the point where I'm going to finish the gusset decreases on one, then I'll go back and I'll do the gusset decreases on the other, and then I'll continue down the foot that way. So it's just typically the way I like doing socks. I find that way I'm far less likely to have a problem with the second sock syndrome, where I'll finish one sock and then I never want to cast on the other one. This way I have both of them partly done, so it kind of pushes me along to finish both of them. So those are the 2 of my works in progress. My third work in progress is one that I have had on the needles forever. And when I mean forever, it's not it's not an exaggeration. I started this project according to my Ravelry project page, I started this project and cast it on July 24th, 2014. This has been on my needles forever. And I find what I do is I pick it up and work on it for a little while, then I put it aside for months and months, and then I work on something else. So if I have more than 2 or 3 projects on the go, this is the one that gets pushed farthest down the line to be done. So what this is, I've been calling it my sock scrap gown. What it is a mitered squares blanket, knit blanket, using all of my sock yarn and fingering weight yarn leftovers. And I'm following the pattern for the patchwork. Yeah, I'm following the knitting patchwork recipe by Martine Ellis, and I'll just put that down somewhere. I'll make a note of that pattern. So that's my base pattern. And initially I wanted to make an Afghan for the bed. We have a queen size bed. And then I thought, well, okay, well, maybe I'm never going to finish a queen size Afghan in fingering weight yarn doing little mitered squares. If I've started this in 2014, it'll have to go to me, it'll end up going with me to the nursing home partially done. So it's like, it's not going to work. It's not going to happen. So then I thought, okay, well, I downsized it. I thought, well, maybe I'll just have it for like a blanket to snuggle under on the couch while I'm watching TV. And even that was seeming too big. So what I finally decided to do is I'm going to do it as a wrap. So basically I'm going to do a large rectangle. It'll be 25 squares long from down the wingspan and 13 squares from top to bottom. So that'll be nice over my shoulders. It'll be enough to wrap around my front, and it'll go down my back and cover my arms nicely. And it'll be something fantastic to have in my living room in the winter time for when we're watching TV. As I mentioned, we're in a big old apartment. It's old, it's drafty, especially the living room and my craft room, because they're at one end of the apartment, and at the opposite end of the apartment is where the heat and the air conditioning starts for this unit. So by the time it gets all the way down to this end, it's pretty much petered out. So the living room and craft room are cold in the winter, and they can get a little bit warm in the summertime. So in the wintertime, this is going to be fantastic to throw over my shoulders. So here's where I am now. So just to give you an idea of the width, it's big enough that it's not going to fit on screen all at once. So it's 13 squares deep and 25 squares long. So right now I've worked out and counted out. I still, only doing this as a wrap, I still have 129 squares left to do. My goal is to be able to use this upcoming winter. So it's June now, and I'm hoping that by November, December, when it's starting to get cold enough that our living room is cold, or my craft room when I'm sitting in front of my computer when I'm cold, I'll have it and I'll be able to use it by then. I have been very conscientious about keeping up with all of the most of the ends, and I don't have an awful lot of tails that need tucking in. Like I said, I've been trying to stay really conscientious of the ends. So I'll add about 10 or 20 squares, and then I'll stitch in some of the tails. So that is my sock scrap gown, and I really am hoping to have this all finished and ready to snuggle under and wrap around me for when I'm watching TV in the winter. So that's my goal, and I really am hoping to have it ready. Really am hoping to have it ready by the end of the year, so that, or the end of the summer and fall, so that it's set and ready. I think once I'm finished with these 2 pair of socks, I think I'm gonna try to refrain from casting on anything else and spend some time focusing on that again. Although there is another sock knit along that's getting started actually today in the Sock Madness group. Now that the competition is over, there's another little knit along that's been started up. So I kind of think I might want to join that, but then that'll bring me back up to 3, and the scrap gown is going to get left by the wayside. But to be honest, I kind of am leaning towards casting this one on. It's another member from Sock Madness that had designed quite a few patterns that have been used in the past, who's also passed away fairly recently. So a lot of people are planning on doing a little cowl to knit one of her sock patterns. And I have one in mind. I want to use probably either one of those pink yarns, or there's a like grayish blue one. So I'm thinking I might break down and join that one. So tune in till next week and find out, see if I broke down and cast that on after I finished my Tsuki socks. So that's about it. You're thinking, oh, finally, oh, that girl can talk. Yeah, this girl can talk. I'm sorry. But anyway, I'm hoping next week I'll have at least the Tsuki socks will be finished, so I'll be able to show you those. I hope to have a fair bit of progress done on the Adamant Heart socks. I'll show you what kind of progress I have on that. I'm not sure if I will do much on my scrapgan this week. I'll see. It all depends on how much time I spend on Adamant Hearts and whether or not I cave and do another one of the join in this newest cowl that I'm interested in. And I've never knit any of this woman's designs, so I actually really would like to make one of them. So I also might come back and show you a few of the finished objects that I have since I last posted back last January. So I don't have a lot. I think I have a total of 11 projects that I finished over the course of almost a year and a half. And the bulk of those have been from December onward. So basically I went from last January, I might have had one finish during that time, if that many. So I might come back and show you some of those. I have a couple scarves. I have a shawl. Actually, the only one thing that I had that it has, let me try that again slower and in English. The one finish I do have from the last while, I think I finished it back earlier in March, is my Texture Time shawl. And that's something that I had shown the work in progress last, like a year ago, 2 Octobers ago. I had started out showing that on the podcast before, and again, that was another one that got put aside for a while, and then I have finally finished it completely. So that is one, that's probably one I definitely will show you guys. And then I also have from Sock Madness, I have the warm-up pattern and rounds 1, 2, and 3. So I have 4 pair of socks that I can show you that I've knit since the beginning of March. Yeah, the beginning of March. So it's Sock Madness begins in March. So I've got 4 pair of socks plus 2 more Sock Madness designs right now. And I am thinking that this year I might try to make a really keen effort on finishing and doing the socks from round 5 and round 6. And if I can get that done, that'll actually be the very first time in all the years that I've done Sock Madness where I have knit the qualifying round and all 7 pair of socks. I think I might set that for a goal for myself. The other 2 pair of socks are really, really cool looking socks. So I think I probably will be doing that. So that's something to watch for down the road. That is probably something I will be doing. So anyways, before I run this up to almost an hour, sorry, I typically like to keep my videos at closer to a half hour, but I did do a lot of yakking at the beginning, and I'm kind of getting back into the swing of this, so I'm not quite as conscious of how long I'm talking and how much I'm rambling on about some things. So I think that will do it for today. I plan on being back. I might get this video up and posted tonight. I still have to do the editing. I have to have it export from my editing program to my computer and then upload to YouTube. So that might take, and where this video is, that probably by the time I'm done editing is probably going to be in the neighborhood of 45 to 50 minutes. That'll take a long time for the editing, the exporting process and the uploading process is going to take quite a while. So it might not, if it doesn't go up tonight, it will go up by tomorrow morning. So on that note, I'm going to stop talking, and I will be back and see you guys. I'm aiming to be back in a week, where I'm planning on filming on Thursday or Fridays and get the video up by late Friday or early on Saturday at the latest. So that's the plan. We'll see how that plan should work for the remainder of the summer. It might have to get adjusted once we get into the fall. So anyway, I'll stop. I'll stop. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Take care, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.